going over here to these news articles, here's McClatchy. Al-Qaeda-linked group Syrian rebels once denied, now key to anti-Assad victories. And then that force, this was a week ago, that force, because Drudge linked to this and to our articles and others and tweeted about it. And let's just give credit where it's due. Al-Qaeda-linked group Syrian rebels once denied, now key to anti-Assad victories. We told you this a year and a half ago. Here it is, New York Times. Syrian rebels tied to Al-Qaeda play key role in war. And it continues here. Al-Qaeda in Syria, on and on and on. So, and then here's Obama today. Obama moves to undercut Assad, but warns of extremist ties to Al-Qaeda. In a diplomatic shift, President Obama said today his administration now formally recognizes the newly formed Al-Qaeda, leading coalition of Syrian rebels who are fighting to topple Syria's embattled President Bashar Assad. And Hillary's been saying they need to invade because Al-Qaeda might take over. You got to love it. You put Al-Qaeda in, then you got to invade because Assad's Al-Qaeda. We made the decision that the Syrian opposition coalition is now inclusive enough, is reflective and representative enough, kind of like Al-Qaeda they put in charge of Libya, of the Syrian population that we consider them the legitimate representatives of the Syrian people in opposition to the Assad regime. And they go on. And then here's our article that was linked on drudgereport.com, is linked there now. Bold move to get this out to everybody. Syrian rebels pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda group that killed U.S. troops. And it's an admitted group that fought U.S. troops in Iraq. But that's okay. They had to be put in as a simulant. Even though they were real people killing real troops, that's part of the war. Part of the death is you've got to bring in Al-Qaeda to kill troops so we have an excuse to be there. You pay off the Iraqi military to stand down, then you fight Al-Qaeda, but then actually double team, use Al-Qaeda to attack the Shiites. This is the master plan. It's called full spectrum dominance, playing both sides or all sides. So the point is, this is broken. We're going to break in a few minutes. Syrian Girl, we're going to give out your YouTube site and everything else so people can check out the great reportage you're doing. Everything you reported on a year ago has now been proven correct. And you join us now to break down what's happening. But in the 3 minutes we have before we go to break, what do you make of them recognizing that Al-Qaeda is a legitimate government, but then also saying, oh, but we need to go to Syria so Al-Qaeda doesn't get in charge? What do you make of these new developments 22 months in?
You know, I just have to reiterate what you said, because it's so important and so crazy to think, you know, Obama first recognizes this group, Jabhat al-Nusra, and says, oh yeah, this group is Al-Qaeda. And then he goes and turns around and recognizes the Syrian rebels as the sole representatives of the Syrian people. And as a Syrian, it's quite disgusting for him to say that Al-Qaeda represents me. And, you know, and then 29 groups of these Syrian rebels, 29 groups, turn around and say they pledge allegiance to the same group that Obama said was Al-Qaeda, which is Jabhat al-Nusra. So it's basically saying that Obama is directly backing Al-Qaeda, and there's no other way to go around it. And I think, you know, we've said this many times as I've come on your show, and I just wanted to add a little bit about what people can do. I know that there's a petition going on right now that is trying to stop the US government from funding Al-Qaeda in Syria. And this is what they've been repeating all the time. I mean, they did put them in Iraq. Of course, there was a nationalist struggle against the occupation there between both, which was both Sunni and Shia. And they started off as a secular movement, but they had to inject Al-Qaeda in there to divide and conquer, basically, and to take the whole thing. And
let's be clear, they're recognizing the admitted main Al-Qaeda group as the head government, because there are 20-plus groups, as you were saying. The one headline is 99% of fighters are jihadist Al-Qaeda, and they've now pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda. So we'll be right back with Syrian Girl reporting on all this straight ahead and what it means that the U.S. government, traitor-in-chief, now endorses publicly Al-Qaeda. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at INFOWARS.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at INFOWARS.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com, None Dare Call a Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. Okay, going back to Syrian Girl, and she's public now. Her full name's out there. She's been on national Australian TV. She's who she says she is. She was one of the former ruling families before Assad came to power, and they basically left the country over that. So she's not a fan of Assad, but watching Al-Qaeda brought in out of Saudi Arabia, real Al-Qaeda, blowing up churches, killing minority Muslim groups, forcing people to suicide bomb. And I want to explain something here. It is mainstream news. Our article compiles all this with previous reports, and drudgereport.com is linked to it. It's still up there. Syrian rebels pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda group that killed U.S. troops. Petition demands Obama stop supporting terrorists in Syria. And there's petitions against this. Now, this all came to a head when the New York Times started reporting on it and when Drudge forced it out there, along with McClatchy. So now he recognizes them in the face of the petition. Well, recognizes them. They're giving them the weapons. And so Syrian Girl slowly, but in the short segment for people, go over, for folks that just tuned in, the name of this group, what they're doing, and how big a deal this is, because you're still a Syrian, national. You still would like to be able to go there. I mean, they're claiming that this group now represents you. They're saying Al-Qaeda from Saudi Arabia, foreign fighters, on record, that's not debated, that they are your government, they are your leaders, and that they're going to, blow up some more mosques. That's a good thing.
Well, absolutely. Their name is Jabhat al-Nusra, but that's just only one group. There's so many groups, and they've all been committing heinous crimes. Just this week, there is a video that came out where they forced a 10-year-old child to behead 2 unarmed prisoners. And at the moment, there is a journalist called Anhar Kochnev. She's Ukrainian. She's captured by them, and they've asked for a $50 million ransom, or they're going to kill her tomorrow. Execute her. So they're executing journalists. They are bombing mosques. There's videos of them bombing mosques. And this might seem strange to people to hear that these Islamic extremists are bombing mosques. But then again, they hate many sects of Islam as well. They don't like people who don't follow their exact sect. This is, of course, there are foreign fighters as well. Saudi Arabia, as you mentioned. And I think that part of the whole thing is to make Saudi Arabia and Qatar buy arms from the U.S. and send them to these terrorists. So in a way, it's war profiteering at the cost of the blood of the Syrian people. I do want to, maybe after your break or whenever, go through the reasons why behind Syria is being attacked and why the New World Order sees Syria as a threat or an obstacle to its agenda.
What do you see this as signifying, that they're now publicly recognizing the group and talking about ground troops? Do you still think it's just propaganda to disillusion the Syrian military?
I think the prospect of ground troops definitely is going to be something after the U.S. is sure that there's been enough defections, enough terrorism, the Syrian people are terrorized, that the Syrian military has broken up to the point that their finger is no longer on the trigger to all of Syria's national defenses. I think that it's going to be a prolonged war. So I think, in the long term, yes, they do want to send troops in, but maybe this will be after they succeed in this insurrection and coup.
As we saw in Katrina, and as we are watching now in New York and New Jersey, the federal government can't and won't help you in a crisis. FEMA ran out of water and MREs in days, electricity is still off to over 1 million people. The Red Cross, who is quick to beg for money, is now slow to react. Don't put it off any longer. Get prepared today. While you're on InfoWarsShop.com, check out these other great preparedness items. The Aquapod kit lets you store up to 65 gallons of water in your bathtub. The Pocket Socket provides you with manual electricity for small electronics like your cell phone. The Life Straw is great for your bug-out bag. And check out our complete line of Interfood products for great tasting and nutritionally dense foods that have a great shelf life. If you are looking to secure your home in a crisis, you can order Strategic Relocations, the film, a great companion to the book Strategic Relocations 3rd edition, and The Secure Home by Joel Skousen. When the time to perform arrives, the time to prepare has already passed. Get prepared now, so if a crisis strikes your home, you and your family will be secure. Go to InfoWarsShop.com.
We've now got Al-Qaeda mercenaries threatening to kill a U.S. journalist in Syria. I mean, it's just getting insane. Syrian Girl joins us. She's lived in Syria, but doesn't live there now, and has been giving us really accurate reportage. Her microphone's a little bit reverby, but she's changed mics. She continues to be on the air with us. Again, if you just tuned in, our government via Obama has recognized Al-Qaeda as the official government of Syria. Please continue, Syrian Girl, with what you think this signifies.
I think like the New World Order is a part of all this. I think that they're trying to destroy secularism inside the Middle East, and probably this will lead to a clash of civilizations in the future. I think this is the end game. And of course, now they're saying two things at the same time, that they're putting Al-Qaeda as the representatives of the Syrian people, and at the same time, later they might enter Syria to get rid of Al-Qaeda. So this could be the situation where troops coming onto the ground in Syria. For the short term, I don't see this happening, because I don't think that they will be able to sustain the losses in the media. It will be like the repeat of the Iraq War, and I don't think the people are going to accept that in America right now. So going on to, if you'd like me to talk about why the New World Order is against Syria, why does the New World Order see Syria as an obstacle?
That's what I want to do. I want to go to break, because this is a short segment, and come back in a final long segment with you and get your breakdown of that, and then also take a few calls. If you have a question for Syrian Girl listeners, we would love to hear from you, a quick, short question so we can get to a few of them, a concise question. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, just on this geopolitical important issue. But start getting into why the New World Order wants to bring them down.
Well, for one thing, they have no Rothschild central bank. Their bank is state-run. They have no IMF debt. And, of course, they are secular, as I stated earlier, and that's going to be a problem in the long term. They, of course, oppose the state of Israel, and that's a part of the whole New World Order plan to create a clash of civilizations in the area. But they oppose it not on a extremist ideology of hatred. They oppose it on a nationalistic position. So all of these reasons and more is why they see Syria as an obstacle to their plans of world domination. And of course, I wanted to get into the religious aspect of it just a little bit, because the whole clash of civilizations thing, the infiltration of the different religions, for example, Wahhabism is an extremist form of Islam, in the same way that Zionism is an extremist form of Judaism. And the idea is to destroy the prime religions of the world, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, to bring in their own religion, which is an occult Luciferian religion. this is my view of the way things are.
No, that's it. I mean, PNAC admits the clash of civilizations. I want to go to break and come back and repeat all this because it's so important and expand on it, but please continue.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, you know, this is my opinion. I might be wrong, but this is the way I've seen things from how old...
No, you're not wrong. It's the divide and conquer program. It's admitted. See, people say, well, are you going to support the Palestinians or the Israelis? They're not sophisticated. The globalists admit they control both sides. They want the clash. That's why our governments are putting the extremists in, because they don't want peace.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
All right, we have a final segment here if you're just joining us with a woman known as Syrian Girl. She's actually been on national Australian television. Her family does come from one of the former ruling parties that Assad kicked out. She's not fans of Assad, but everything she's told us in the last year about what was really happening in Syria has come true. If you just tuned in here today, the president, it's an ABC News, has officially recognized a known admitted Al-Qaeda group that McClatchy, New York Times, and others have admitted is Al-Qaeda. Well, yeah, the CFR endorsed Al-Qaeda 3 months ago. McClatchy, about a week ago, started reporting on this. We've been reporting on it every day for 21 months, trying to stop this. They're trying to bring down the country. And here's the headline: Al-Qaeda-linked group, Syrian rebels, once denied, now key part of anti-Assad victories. And Obama has taken that very group and recognized them as the official government. There is now a White House petition online. It's got tens of thousands of signatures. There's 24,040 signatures on the White House petition that we'll show TV viewers a shot of right here who are watching on prisonplanet.tv. And they are saying, cease all funding and support for Al-Qaeda terrorists and extremist rebels in Syria. Hillary Clinton has admitted that Al-Qaeda is supporting the Syrian rebels, who are backed by the Obama administration with $200 million in aid, and that's not counting the ambassador in Benghazi and the 10,000 missiles to shoot down aircraft. According to McClatchy newspapers, one of these groups, Al-Nusra Front, that's who Obama's recognized, an Al-Qaeda affiliate, is now conducting the heaviest frontline fighting in Syria and has been responsible for terrorist attacks. Impartial observers such as Dr. Jacques Beres says the majority of rebels in Syria are foreign extremists whose goal is to impose Sharia law. Well, yeah, they're blowing up churches. These rebels have also been filmed during burning U.S. flags and chanting anti-American slogans. Funding terrorists is a crime under the National Defense Authorization Act. Such activity has had disastrous consequences in the past, such as 9/11. We demand all support and all direct support or indirect to cease immediately. And 960 people do not want Al-Qaeda to not be funded. 24,000 and counting do. So we're going to link this petition up at INFOWARS.com. It's actually linked in Paul Watson's article that's at INFOWARS.com and up at DrudgeReport.com. I'll get into the union thugs beating people up and how that's going to be used to demonize unions, period, and how they're playing both sides off against each other, just like is happening, putting Al-Qaeda in Libya, Iraq, putting them in Syria, putting them in control of Egypt, Al-Qaeda light. This is so they can start the next big wars. And here's the key. We forced this out in the news. This is a big deal. And make no mistake, INFOWARS.com, our reporters were the genesis of this. And I actually not really particularly, I'm proud of that, but that's a dangerous fact. I mean, wow, we're really having an effect here, praise God. But the fact that it's now been forced out and Obama's had to come out and respond. In fact, that clip's on ABC News in this article. Obama recognizes Syrian opposition group. You guys go find that video clip. But the point is they've officially come out and admitted they're running them, but said there is an Al-Qaeda problem. So we're going to deal with that. So it's just amazing. So when aircraft in Europe and the United States or anywhere else get shot down by Al-Qaeda and they want to set up checkpoints on the highway to search for missiles in trucks, they can even be hidden in cars. Just remember, when you pull over and the state police are there with a checkpoint, all acting official and aiming their machine guns at you like they do now all over the country. There's a bank robbery. Families have guns. Just everybody at the checkpoint, they aim guns at you now. I mean, it's just the government wants to fully dominate us. When they let their Al-Qaeda attack us so they can grandstand and act like saviors, just remember Remember, the banks that run Al-Qaeda did all this, and they are going to use Al-Qaeda to attack us again. And they're going to then use it to stick their hands down your wife's pants, okay, at the shopping mall, not just at the airport. So this is how they do it. Al-Qaeda works for them. And Syrian Girl, we fixed your microphone, so it's better now. Just recap this point I brought up and the divide and conquer you were talking about last segment, what's really happening and what the larger plan is. And do you get my point that they're in trouble on this? They thought the public was so dumb they couldn't grasp that the government runs Al-Qaeda. They've been caught with their pants down now. This is a great opportunity to shut this down and stop this war. And then also, undoubtedly, the 10,000 plus, is over 12,000 missiles missing, high-tech heat seekers. Now, undoubtedly, they're going to blow up aircraft with these. Or the globalists may actually try to stop Al-Qaeda from doing it now, knowing that they're going to actually get blamed for it. So it may be a year from now that some family was going to get blown up, taken off from Chicago or Austin or wherever, or from Paris at, de Gaulle Airport. I mean, because I know these scenarios. I mean, we're saving lives right here. So I salute you and all the other reporters. Tony Cardalucci, I think, has been hammering this the hardest. Paul Watson, Kurt Nemo, Steve Watson, Adon Salazar, our reporters, David Ortiz, you've got just all of them have been reporting on this. Melissa Melton, David Knight, Jakari Jackson, Darren McBreen. I mean, I'm not tooting our horn. I'm giving people the good news that we can affect change here, Syrian Girl. We can. The globalists have overplayed their hand here, thinking we're so dumb they could use Al-Qaeda in Libya and now Syria. I mean, this is really blowing up in their face.
I think they took a big risk with this, and they've bitten off more than they can chew. And to go on to the divide and conquer strategy we were talking about, they really, their end game is to create Islamic states all over the place, and of course the Jewish state as well. And you were mentioning about Palestine and Israel and the war there. And I think that Syria has always been an advocate of a one-state solution with the right of return for the Palestinian people. You can call it Israel, you can call it Palestine, but it has to be a secular state, because it's secularism inside the countries with many different religions living together peacefully, which has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years before the Zionist agenda, before the Zionism was even created. So this is what Syria was advocating for, and why it's a thorn in the side of those who want a clash of civilizations. And it's nothing against Jews being in the Middle East, because they've been there for thousands of years, but it's against land grabbing and massacring people based on their religion, and that's what's happening right now. And the president, actually, I might not be a government supporter, but I will acknowledge the fact that it's positive that it's a secular government. The president invited the Syrian Jewish community from New York to come back to Syria, and anytime they want. And of course, there's a huge push in 2009, before the war began, to bring the Jewish community of Syria who are living in
Israel, it's been declassified. Would in the 50s and 60s would bomb Jews in Iraq, but also Jews in Europe and Spain to make them move to Israel. And it turned out Israel was doing that itself. Absolutely. Al-Qaeda is blowing up synagogues and killing Jews right now. And the people running Israel are as pleased as punch about that, because it's going to force them into Israel.
Absolutely, that's the idea. They want to divide everybody up. And the biggest Jewish community outside of Israel in the Middle East is in Iran right now. And that's going to be the next step. There's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jewish people living in Iran that are threatened by this. And of course, on top of this, this FSA group, the Syrian rebels, Al-Qaeda, they give them 1,000 names. They're just extremist jihadists. They've actually been killing secular Palestinians that are, they oppose the extremist Zionist entity of the current state that Israel is in right now. But they're killing them because they don't really want a secular opposition. They don't want people to unite and say, no, we don't want to fight each other. We want to be Jewish, Christian, Muslim, living with each other peacefully like we have for thousands of years. They want a dirty free-for-all with people killing each other on all sides. And I just wanted to say that one of the crimes that They're committing now the biggest crime in Syria. Is not only have we now lost our Jewish community, we've also now losing our Christian community, and they've destroyed one of the oldest churches in Syria, which is from 50 AD, maybe one of the oldest churches in the world. And I'm a Muslim, but I'm also a Syrian, and it's part of my heritage. And for me, a Syrian of any religion is exactly my brother and sister, as a Muslim would be. And I don't think that the people that they're putting in power feel the same way about that.
I want to go to a phone call for you, but how do you think the establishment, when we come back from break, is going to be able to spin when Al-Qaeda attacks the United States or Europe again? That's one of the big questions. Let's talk to Clint in Iowa. He has a question for you. Go ahead, quick question, Clint.
Yes, sir. Alex, Syrian Girl, thank you for taking my call. Syrian Girl, do you think it's more are they attacking you politically, or is it more a faith-based, like through your religion? Here in America, from Iowa, being a Christian, I feel that they attack you through your culture and your religion first, and then politically afterwards, but I'll take the answer offline.
I don't quite understand the question. So you think that, are you asking me if the war is more religiously driven or more politically driven, or is this the question?
Yeah, I guess it would specifically, do they attack you more through religion, or do they attack you more through laws and rights? Just specifically, do they attack you more with what God you can believe in, or what kind of water you can drink?
I think that, there's definitely different levels and reasons why Syria is being attacked. I think that the powers that be, they do have this ideology that is a occult religion, but also it's about power at the end of the day. Ideology.
Look, we got to go to break. The globalists are radicalizing Islam and making sure they're always in charge to then menace the West, so the West can then take its liberties away in the name of fighting it, and then so they can also destroy and attack those countries at will. We've got a 1490 AM WJOC listener in Ohio on 1490 listening to us. A sheepdog wants to talk to Syrian Girl. Syrian Girl, here is a sheepdog.
Yes, it's a two-parter. One is a statement, which I believe that you guys did the right thing on covering that, AJ. There's no doubt. But a friend of ours, I'm not going to name him on the air, and I'm not going to say who he's affiliated with, believes that it will just accelerate their agenda, that the government of what they're doing, because they've always got a redundancy backup. Now, my question to you, Syrian Girl, is now that we know that 20 brand new F-16s that have never been used before are being sold by our government to the Egyptian government, which our sources also tell us that they're going to be used against the Syrian government, which is going to give more of an upper hand to the rebels. Have you heard anything about this? What's your thoughts on that?
Good question. Yeah, well, they're openly talking about the peaceful no-fly zone where they drop peace bombs because it's a peace prize president like Libya. What's your intel on that, Syrian Girl?
I haven't any intel that the planes might be used against Syria, although this could happen. Of course, the Egyptian government that has now been installed is a belligerent against Syria. But I think the way I saw it is that those planes might actually be used in case the Egyptians themselves have another revolution to try to take back the revolution that was stolen from them. So, it's clear that this government, its Egyptian government now is a complete puppet of the globalists, it seems. So while I don't have any intelligence for what you're saying, I can't dispute that.
Sure. Let me ask her this question. How are they going to spin it if Al-Qaeda is able to take over and does like Libya and kills Jews, Christians, and minority Muslims, and Libya lines up tens of thousands of blacks and kills them? I mean, I guess the media will stop covering it at that point. I mean, how will they get away with something this big?
Well, if you just look at the way they got away with it on Afghanistan, you know, they just waited a while until the country got destroyed and became a failed state. And they went from supporting Al-Qaeda against the Soviets to we hate Al-Qaeda. And before that, they needed, of course, a false flag operation, as we saw in 9/11.
That's right. So it's just amazing.
That's exactly what they do.
Habu in Wisconsin, he has a question for you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I have to thank you, Mr. Jones, for giving Syrian Girl a platform amidst all the propaganda we hear otherwise. Here's my question to you, Syrian Girl, and you are doing wonderful work.
Thank you.
Do you think if, say, China, Russia, Iran, perhaps Hezbollah, you know, sent in 5,000 troops each, that to be in Syria, that would, in a way, discourage any open confrontations, because it's always easier to preempt than to react to an invasion.
Well, aren't those troops already there out of Iran? They've sent in they've sent in a bunch of Revolutionary Guard, and there's Russian Spetsnaz. They've killed Russian generals. Al-Qaeda has a Syrian Girl.
They claimed to kill a Russian general, but the Russian general came out and said, "Oh, actually, I'm still alive," and he was in Russia. Syria doesn't have any Iranian or Chinese or Russian on the record. They don't have anything like that, or Hezbollah inside Syria. And at the moment, I think that it would be politically a bad idea to do so. Syrian army is 500,000 strong. So it's not the case of manpower that's problematic. It's just a case of weaponry, sophistication that needs to be upgraded. And that's where Russia and China might be able to...
Yeah, well, Russia has brought in a bunch of ships, and naval Spetsnaz have left the ships. That happened about 6 months ago. But I mean, you're saying the media is just completely lying about that?
I think that there's Russian people, military people inside Syria that are...
advising.
Trained advisors, exactly. But I think that the idea that the Russian army is fighting in Syria or the Iranian army is fighting, I don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be good PR to have them actively fighting either with the population. Well, again, you're no fan of Assad regime. I'm not either. He's not attacking anybody, and he's not Al-Qaeda. And he's not blowing up churches like Al-Qaeda is and making people suicide bomb. Thank you so much, Syrian Girl. We'll continue to get updates from you. And I know we've got loaded phones from other callers, but I've got to move on to some other subjects. We'll still go to you on the Syria question. But, folks, I'm not hyping this. In fact, I couldn't hype this big enough. We forced this out as